Hey traders, Mike Katz here with 7 Points Capital, bringing you today's trader takeaways. And let's look at the SPYs today. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. SPYs again in a tight range, small bar compared to what we've seen in the past. The $2 range in the SPYs is pretty small, but I have a feeling things are starting to contract as far as the volatility goes. The reason being, there were three main things that were holding the market down and weighing on the market, and one was the trade wars with China. The other was Facebook, and tech in general was very weak. And the third one was the war in Syria, potential war in Syria. So trade wars seems to be less of a topic these days. China is making less of a big deal out of it. Facebook, the hearings are behind us. Their problems might not be behind us, but right now it seems like tech doesn't really care much about it. And the other thing was Syria war potentially, right? And then Friday night, all we did was fire a bunch of missiles into some deserted areas, and that's pretty much what we have as far as Syria war. So there's a lot of weight that's coming off of the market. And I remember Friday night when I saw Trump speak, I was a little upset because I took off a lot of my swing shorts that day before. And I was thinking, well, if we're going to war in Syria, too bad I'm not short a lot of the stocks that I covered. And then, when I woke up this morning and when futures opened up last night, they opened to the plus side. I think because we're just getting a small missile attack versus a whole full-blown war. At least that's the case right now. So I think the SPYs might have a bid under them for a little bit, and that could change very quickly. But I came in with that thought in mind today. So the spiders were acting better today. I traded a little bit of TVIX. I shorted some TVIX, shorting some volatility, and that worked out okay. I came in today just looking to hit a couple of singles and doubles. I wasn't looking to hit any big trades. If it came along, great. But I did size down, and I just wanted to, start the week off right, get my footing again. Last few days, I feel like some days I did okay, some days I didn't do well, and overall I just could be doing better. So today my plan was to take it one trade at a time, and also to monitor volatility. If we don't have the follow through, if we don't have the volatility that I'm looking for some of my setups, either avoid those setups completely or just be more reactive. And I was taking a lot of the profits earlier rather than later and not adding back, more of a in and out type of a thing. And that seemed to work today. So TVIX, I had a couple of trades where I shorted this one thinking that the market was going to head higher, and that worked out well. What else? Bank of America had earnings today. Had two trades in bank. Usually I trade this with a lot of volume, but again, I wasn't looking to trade this very big, not too heavy. I had a short trade early on here. I made some here, and then I gave some back on the lift, at which point I said, I got to start locking in more and less of, let me add back and see if I get some continuation. And then I was out of it, and then here it seemed like it made a higher low versus these lows here. So I bought some versus here, and that ended up working pretty quickly and popped up. This one also I ended up taking off a little early, went up quite a bit more, but I was just looking to hit singles and doubles, like I said, and I was quite happy with that. So bank was a winner on the day. Ended up making about 3-4 Rs on it combined. And then we got the news that Amazon was not going to pursue online prescriptions, and a lot of the symbols like CVS got a pop, CVS, Walgreens, and RAD. So my plan was, if I get a pullback in CVS, so this was the pop, if I get some sort of a pullback in CVS and stabilization, I'll try it on the long side. Didn't really set up for me, so I ended up missing out on the upside. I didn't really have a setup. I didn't want to chase it. But as it kept going up, I was also monitoring some of the other ones like WBA, which is Walgreens. And this one ended up looking weaker than CVS. Here, let's see if I can punch up these two. So if we can see them side by side, one on top of another, we can see a little bit of bam. Let's see if we could get these to line up. All right, not bad. So on this bar, both were strong on the first move. On the second move, we can see that CVS had a bigger bar while Walgreens was starting to form a little bit smaller bar. Volume was still there, so that means that there's some sort of an anomaly here. And on the third 15-minute bar here, we see CVS slow down, but Walgreens finished with a topping tail and on more volume than the previous bar, another anomaly there. So when I saw that, I started focusing on the short-term chart, and right here when it pulled back down, I wanted to see if this would make a lower high. I put a short on here versus the high of day, and it got a nice quick drop, started working pretty quickly, at which point I knew that I was on the right side of things. And oops, wrong chart right there, on the right side of things. And then this one ended up working. I tried to add a little bit more here. I got partial, didn't get my full size, and then started unwinding. And this one also I took off a little bit early. Again, my theme was I'd like to lock in rather than look for continuations. So I took that off here, made about close to 3 R's on it, and I moved on from it. And also I traded some RAD. First on the long side, because this was kind of a laggard behind what CVS was doing, what Walgreens was doing. So it gave me a little bit of time to react. It's a thicker quote. So I was able to trade this a little bit on the long side and then a little bit on the short side when these other ones topped out. So that was pretty good. And what else? HM&Y got a pop today. Could be one worth monitoring next couple of days. And we had Netflix earnings. That would be NFLX. So this one looks good on the daily. On the daily, it held 280. So when the market was correcting hard, tech was correcting hard, I figured this could be support versus from this breakout. I actually got long here, shook myself out. It would be nice to still have that position back. But the idea was that it's still strong, and now it's trading right up here near all-time highs. And I'm going to get back to my desk and monitor it, see if there are any short-term setups or potential setups for after hours pre-market setup for a continuation play into next few days. Last earnings I did really well with this. It was a monster trade for me. I believe it was right here. I was in it for this gap, and then so basically I bought it on the day of earnings up here, 248ish. In after hours, when it started flagging and holding support and not pulling back down, and then it started creeping up, and I just kept trailing my stop. And this ended up being a really nice trade. It was 4 or 5 days where I was in it. And so kind of, if we were to see the same thing today, I would have to see, let's see how that setup would look. It would have to be something like this, something like that, and then potentially something like that. And I remember I actually bought it when it broke out and retested back if it was to do that here. So a lot of ifs and a lot of thens, but that's kind of how I like to trade. Right now I'm not chasing, I'm not buying dips. Let's see how this is, and then I'll look at it probably tomorrow morning. And that's pretty much it. So kind of got my seatbelt on for the next couple of weeks. Earnings are coming up, and we're going to know exactly what's reporting every day, what to expect, and what the levels are. And hopefully it'll be a good earnings. And I think that most low floaters will probably be quieter. That's usually what happens during earnings season. And I'll be focused on what's in play. The market as a whole, I believe, will have less action, less volatility. It's going to be more single name, single catalyst, most likely earnings related, unless we get some sort of macro news, unless we get more than just one tweet from Trump, unless we get some big macro event. I do think that the SPYs will start to die down with the volatility, and we'll see which way they want to go. But so my focus is going to be more on the individual names the next couple of weeks, and just try to pick off a name or two with earnings and day one and day two, and see what's in play, and just join trend, and you know, just trade accordingly. So that's my plan. I want to thank you guys for watching. This is Mike Katz, 7 Points Capital, with today's trader takeaways.